Follow up from something you said before. Do you find yourself still talking to inanimate objects occasionally?
I do. Not so much the furniture, but I talk to my car a lot. Her name is Polly. Um, and yeah, so I probably talk to Polly more than any other inanimate object. Um, like the other day, my tire pressure light came on, and whenever that happens, I'll like tap Polly's dashboard and I'll say, "It's okay, Polly. We're gonna get your tires fixed. Don't worry." So yes, I still do.
So one day, many, many, many days from now, when Polly, has run her last mile and it's time to retire her someplace, is that an extra hard day because you've developed sort of this mostly one way? But who knows? Who knows what the Polly's thinking while you're driving around?
Who knows? Well, I like to think that Polly, wherever she goes, she's going to a better place, like all my other past cars. I actually had before Polly, a couple cars before Polly, I had a car named Stella, and I had to take Stella to the shop. And I was so used to calling her Stella that when I called the repair shop, I told them, I said, "I'm calling to check on Stella." And there's like a pause, and they're like, "Who is Stella?" And then I realized, oh, that's right. Other people don't know her name. I said, "I'm sorry, Stella's my car." And then there's another pause, and it occurs to me that some people think it's strange that and some people don't think it's strange. A lot of people name their cars. And in fact, whenever Dan, my partner, and I started dating, I asked him what his car's name was. And he just kind of looked at me and he's like, "My car doesn't have a name." Like, what? All cars are supposed to have names. Anyway, so I...
The deal breaker then?
It was not a deal breaker, but only because he then allowed me to name his car. So his car's name is now Jurgen.
That's a bold move for a first date.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't possibly, and now Polly and Jurgen are in the garage, and I have a whole backstory that Jurgen is trying to like pick up Polly because Polly's like this, Jurgen has some miles on him. He's a little beat up Corolla, but Dan loves the car, and he's going to drive it till it falls apart. And Polly's, this little 2-door red, zoom zoomy kind of car. So I like to say that Jurgen, tries to talk up Polly in the garage. So as you could see, I also have an active imagination.
That is a lot for him to overcome. So I hope he's got a lot of personality to.
Jurgen is very understated. He's a very nice car. He has nothing, he's not pretentious in any way. He's just being himself. I'm sure it'll work out.
It occurred to me, I named my very first car, I named her Carla. And then a couple of people made fun of me, and I haven't done it since. So that's kind of.
Oh, see? Well, now you have to go. You have to go do that now. I named my bike. I bought a bike, and the first thing I did was name her. And a lot of people ask me, how do you come up with the name Polly for your car and Gladys for your bike? And my answer is always the same. I always say, I just ask them what their name is, and they tell me. Of course, people give me like this look, and I'm like, that's my answer.
Yeah, but look what you do for a living. Why would you not be overflowing with imagination? Why would this be a surprise?
Right, exactly.
Do you find that same thing happening with your characters? Do they let you know what their name is?
Yeah, oh, that's such a great question. They do, and a lot of times I'll name my characters after young people that I've met on tour or at book signings because I'll meet someone who either has an intriguing name or they themselves are intriguing to me, and I'll remember their names. And then when I'm drafting a character or when a character is kind of arriving in my imagination, I will ask them what their name is, and they will tell me. And sometimes it'll be a name, that I'm already familiar with or what have you. But that's actually a character exercise that I do for all my main characters. Is I do a writing prompt, and it's also a writing prompt I give my students often is, tell me how your character feels about their name. Pretend that the character has walked into a room and you've asked them, how do you feel about your name? And then write a first person monologue from your character's point of view. And the reason I do that is because you find out a lot about a person based on the answer to that question, because there's nothing more personal than our names for whatever reason. Maybe we don't connect with our names. Maybe we don't identify with them. Maybe we want to change our names. Maybe we're indifferent. I mean, there's so many, there's like studies that show that the human brain responds differently when we hear our name than any other sound in the world. And I find that so intriguing. So I do that exercise with all my characters. I ask them how they feel about their name. And when they tell me, their personality comes through, because if they're kind of quiet and hesitant, that's how their monologue will come across. If they're very bold and outspoken, then that's how their monologue will come across. And I find it a very helpful exercise.
Do you start with, before I ask that question, I guess I should ask the obvious. With 3 names, Erin Entrada Kelly, how do you feel about your name?
Great question. So, I'm at peace with it at this point, but when I was growing up, I did not connect with the name Erin at all. And for what reason, I have no idea. I think when I was a kid, being the little worrywart that I was, I didn't have a ton. I mean, this sounds very sad and dramatic to say, but it's honest. I didn't have a ton that I liked about myself when I was a kid, and that included my name. So my name could have been anything, and I probably would have thought it wasn't a good name. I really wanted to have like a big fancy name like Stephanie. This was the 80s, and there were a lot of Stephanies. Or a
Age of Stephanie.
Yes, it was. It was a very popular time in the 70s and 80s for Stephanies. So, but now, it's my name, and I'm very cool with it. Yeah.
So, so many follow-up questions, but when you're deciding on a character, do you sit down and do you write like a character sheet, all the information, and do you start with the character? Or is, okay, I'm going to need this type of person in the story to serve this plot function. What type of person best serves that function?
No, not the latter. I do the former. So all of my books start with a character, and all of my plotting happens through characters. So I never think, okay, this is my plot. Now, what characters do I need to populate the plot? It's always, who are my characters? What does their world look like? What are they afraid of? What do they need to overcome? What do they want most out of life, internal and external? What's preventing them from getting those things? What kind of person are they? What's it like to be them in the world? And that's how the plot comes to be. So it's never the other way around, if that makes sense. It's always character first.